Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is for those people who have their sun in the 10th house in their natal chart. And the sun is the core of our personality. You may not see this earlier on in your life. I think that we grow into the sun. And yet, when we say, hey baby, what's your sign? We're not talking about the moon sign or the rising sign. We're talking about the sun sign because everyone inherently knows that this is where it's at. And of course, back in the day, the sun sign was the only thing that was pretty much mentioned in popular culture. If you would read magazines or newspapers, they would have the forecast, but they wouldn't say anything about having a moon sign. I was so surprised when I found out we had all these other things going on. But the sun sign is the core, and this can also be what you eventually go into as your career. And this is, for this particular video, is very important because the 10th house is the career house. It's also the house of authority figures. It's the house of Capricorn and its ruler, Saturn. So it's very serious. It's very much about success. But what is success? That's what the 9th house would ask. What really is success? Is it really important in your life? Can we define success as you are doing very well in your career? But the 10th house wants to make their mark upon the world when you have the sun here. Because when you bring the sun into the 10th house, it's kind of like a sub-influence of having the sun in Capricorn. So it doesn't matter if you're a Pisces who tends to be otherworldly, you're going to have a strong need to make your mark on the world. For somebody with the sun in the 10th house, career is central to your life. You may identify with it, like you may derive a sense of ego boost, or, when I say ego boost, I really don't mean anything narcissistic. I'm talking about the healthy ego. The ego meaning your sense of self as differentiated by others. Sometimes people are, especially I think nowadays, there's a lot of talk about not shining brightly as an individual and kind of shining, being part of a collective, but we are individuals as well. We're all one, and we're also individuals. Both of those parts of us are true. And so when somebody has the sun in the 10th house, they want to stand out. They want to be seen by others because this is the top of the chart, the 10th house. So it's a very public place. It's our public image. And for somebody with the sun in the 10th house, public image is very important. So this is one of the reasons why I feel like the person with the sun in the 10th house has to put everything in perspective. Now, it's interesting. I have compiled this list of influences from codexastrology.com along with theastrologyplace.com. These are two sites that I find when I want to look something up, that they provide information for me in the way that resonates with me the most. But it's usually not just one site that I go to get this information. Or any information, I'm always taking it in from different sources because I like getting things from as many places as possible. You always find something new when you bring in multiple sources, but I just wanted to give them credit. But I wanted to say this, that's the springboard, and then I come into play. And my feeling is that the person with the sun in the 10th house can really be successful career-wise because they are so focused in this area. But I think there has to be ultimately this understanding of what the career is supposed to be at the end of the day, which is that you're taking your talents and you're providing them as service to humanity. As soon as the person becomes intoxicated by their own fame, they can have a certain downfall. As a matter of fact, this can be the place if your sun is afflicted. In other words, if it makes hard angles to other planets, I don't know if it makes one or two, but if there's a definite, if there's definite evidence of multiple afflictions from the sun to other planets, that could be where you experience a fall from grace. And pride comes before the fall. Remember that. The sun is considered a very positive force in general, but the sun, if it is afflicted, can have its own challenges, because it's going to have a shadow side. Everything has a shadow side. For the sun, the shadow is arrogance, pomposity, trying to, attention seeking, trying to kind of like domineering, trying to inject yourself into everything. You have to be the center of attention and things like that. And so with career matters, this would be what would happen. Now, if there's an affliction in terms of an opposition to the fourth house of home and family, this can indicate that there is some kind of a push-pull between the home life and the career life. It's possible that a woman would fare worse than a man, even in 2019, because the mother is still expected to make sacrifices for her child since she carried and delivered the child. So, in other words, mothers still are considered more responsible for children's upbringing. I would say, if you differ from me, you can let me know, but I just feel like this will be more of an agonizing situation for a female sun in the 10th house than it would be for a male. If, for instance, let's say you have the moon in the fourth house, and you feel like you were born to be a mother, and you feel this sense of being torn between the two, and feeling like, why can't I have what I want? You may be able to make a compromise, but it would have to be something that you're very conscious about. So a compromise could be, well, I'm going to pursue this career, but I'm going to have a home office rather than going and commuting to work every day. So that could be going on, something where you have a career, but you might have a hard angle to the fourth house and feel this sense of like, I can't really become all I want to be in my career because my family is holding me back, or I want to be a mother, or, it could be a father, but whatever. But I also want to have this high-powered career. Speaking of high-powered careers, what kind of careers? Well, anything that puts you in front of the public. I mean, the obvious ones have to do with show business, because, especially acting, which you are taking on a role, and but public speaking, it could be too. By the way, public speaking could be anything that includes, even teaching is a form of public speaking, right? Actually, as far as teaching goes, I think this would be the teacher that has like an amazing presence. So there may be charisma associated with this. And you may have been born into a family that is very affluent. And it could be that you don't have to work if you don't want to. Maybe you're a trust fund baby, or you've received money. Well, I'm saying somebody's a trust fund baby, that might be a little bit much, but your father may be somebody who has been in the public eye, maybe in some leadership role. He might be well known, and you, from the time you're a child, identified with that and wanted to be like him. And that was your first taste of what it's like to be recognized, to be in that public arena. So another thing that I should note about this, because I was talking about if your sun is in the 12th house, I already did that video, and I was talking about, like, let's say you have Leo or Aries in the 12th house. That could make you a lot more subdued. This 10th house situation can work the opposite way. Maybe you have a sign that's more timid than others, like a sun in Cancer or a sun in Virgo. You might be very confident and outgoing with this placement, and so it can change a bit of the way that you operate. You may actually gain fame if your sun is close to the midheaven. So see how far your sun is from the 10th house cusp, and see if it's within a few degrees, then fame might be yours. You want to improve the world, and you want to be an influence on the world in some way, like leave your mark on the world. And you're trying to find yourself. Find out, where you belong in this world, utilizing your personal gifts. So I can't help but think that a fair number of you are very creative in what you do for a living. I don't know. I didn't read anything about it, aside from talking about the acting and things like that, which is like public, performance. But I would say any kind of artistic career, even like just where you don't have to be in front of anyone, is appealing to you. I think you're aware of the pecking order, and that's probably due to that Capricorn influence. And you're striving to climb the ladder of success, but also there's that sense of status, I believe, and you take great pride in that higher status. But you may have been born into it. You may have been born into, I think I said this before, an affluent family. So it's not like there's this pressing need to kind of make yourself higher, raise your status in society, or even in terms of having the money to live. You may always have that kind of a background where you are taken care of in one way or the other. However, I would say, you think about these people that are the children of famous folks, like celebrities. It could be like the son or daughter of an actor. Even if they grow up in affluence, they may still want to make a name for themselves. And I think you, especially having the sun in the 10th house, would be like that. And so you don't necessarily want to rest on another person's laurels. You would rather have your own identity in terms of but not just your own identity, but other people knowing that identity. And that might just be a public image. I mean, you might be totally different in your private life, and that can be disconcerting to people who know you because they think that you're kind of like putting on this act, which you might be, because you are so aware and sensitive to how you are perceived, and you want to control that narrative. I think that the one thing I would say about this placement, it is considered very advantageous and positive as an influence. The only thing I would say is to be careful about any kind of issues with pride, with ego, and I'm talking about the less savory parts of it. You want to be somebody who approaches life in, very respectful towards other people and their, realizing that they have ambitions too. And not to just focus on your own, attainment of your success. So, that there's room for everyone, and that you don't have to outshine another person. So that's definitely something that needs to be said. With today, we glorify the rich and the famous, but we don't really necessarily challenge them to help others. Some people do this naturally. I have a feeling that you're that type of person. And so you just want to be of help to others, but by the same token, it's coming through you being you. Most of you will not want to work for another person. You want to be in charge, large and in charge. And so being the authority figure is right up your alley. If you find, for whatever reason, maybe this could be early on in your beginning of your working life, that you are somehow in a lowly job, in some kind of position where you have to take orders from someone else, all that will do is set off those rockets of desire. That's a term that Abraham Hicks uses, which means that contrast that it provides you will only serve to spur you on to greater ambition. And so don't be afraid of that scenario. You can learn a lot about it. And yes, humility is always the key. You can know your greatness and still be humble. You don't have to, humility isn't akin to to demeaning oneself. That's not the road to higher self-esteem, is through like putting yourself down. It's about being able to see how you can evolve through taking the path of least resistance. Resistance meaning that you're not resisting whatever life has put in front of you in that moment. If it's meant for you to work for somebody else, to accept that, even if it goes against your nature. And, I mean, if it's a decent job and you need to, obviously. But that can lead to you working for yourself and understanding, having a greater breadth of understanding, like what it takes to work for yourself. And to be, in some cases, in a position where you are telling other people what to do. So you might grow into that, and you might need to. That might be important for your individual path, and that's okay. This is all about, the journey. It's not necessarily one specific destination. But this can assure a lot of success. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you have the sun here, this is a very important position and great for that. So in any case, I hope that you enjoyed this. And if you would like a personal reading, the link is below. My website is rainamoonastrology.com. Thanks for listening. Take care. Bye.